So I don't forget before the end of Mass, next Thursday night, we have the privilege of having the chalice that was used by St. Padre Pio. It's being circulated around to different churches, and many miracles have been associated with those who drink the precious blood or who touch that chalice. So the woman who is bringing it is a cousin of Tim Knight, who was my best friend when I was in grade school. And she's excited that I was willing to have the chalice here. I think it's a great privilege. And we'll also have the crucifix. It's a black crucifix with a pewter corpus on it that will be on the altar. That was always on the altar when Padre Pio celebrated Mass. So next Thursday night, it'll be a great privilege to be here and to use that chalice and ask through the intercession of St. Padre Pio for his blessings on us from God. If we were fishermen, maybe some of you are, we certainly can sympathize with St. Peter, Simon. He was a good fisherman. He knew what he was doing. He had to. It was his livelihood. And so he knew what was the best time of the day, and he knew what area of the lake, and he knew just how to arrange the nets and all those things, and whether to do it at sunrise or sunset. And so he was good at it. Well, they had been fishing all night long, and they caught no fish at all. Then Jesus comes along, and he's a carpenter. He doesn't know anything about fishing in their eyes. And he tells them to go out and lower the nets again. St. Peter, for a moment, hesitates. He probably was thinking, it's nonsense. We know what we're doing, and there's no fish out there. But something seized Peter. Something said, it might be good to do what this man is saying. And so he tells all of the other guys, let's go out and lower the nets. And then, of course, we know the result, that they caught so many fish that the nets were starting to tear, and they could hardly haul them all into 2 boats. God's ways are not our ways. And I think that's something we always have to be used to. Jesus was doing things all through his 3 years of ministry on this earth to show us that God's ways are not ours. What may seem like foolishness to us is wisdom for God. The point of this story is that we should trust Jesus, that we should listen to him, even though when he tells us things that we find very hard to comprehend. And in the gospel, we see that the apostles, their faith was certainly strengthened by this great miracle, so much so that they left everything and followed Jesus. And his words to them were, don't be afraid. Now they're going to leave their jobs where they were making money and needed it for their livelihood and so forth. He's just saying, don't be afraid. Follow me. And they did. From now on, you will be fishermen of people. And so those were the first priests, the first bishops of the church. And so we too have to hear those words of Jesus. The world can look at what we do and believe and find it kind of silly or foolish. We say that this bread and wine becomes the body and the blood of Christ. And we absolutely believe that in faith because Jesus told us that it's true. And so we believe it because it is at the words of Jesus that we know that it's true. So many out in the world today will say it's kind of foolish to bend over backwards to save a marriage when divorce is so easy today. The church is saying, no, we should do everything we can to preserve and strengthen that union, to bring about reconciliation, to bring about hope again. That's what the church says that Jesus wants us to do. The world out there right now in the choice of a Supreme Court justice, huge issue is abortion. The world's afraid that he's going to do something in the Supreme Court to end abortion when it's what so many people want. So many people who are unwilling to look at the truth of human conception. It takes 1 second for a human being to be conceived in the womb of a woman. 1 second. And scientists, not a religious teaching, it's not anything else, but a scientific proof that at the moment of conception, there's a living human being in those cells. And within just a few short days, it's developing as a human being. And so we have a human being there. The world wants to say it's nothing, it's just a glob of tissue. See, even in the face of truth, sometimes the world doesn't want to believe the truth because they want things to be their way. But the Lord is saying, no, that the dignity of a human being starts at the moment of conception. And we have to treat that human being with respect. And so tonight in the gospel, we ask the Lord to help us, even when we don't understand everything that he teaches us. We have to think, well, if the Lord teaches it to us, then it must be right. It must be true. And we have to follow that faithfully. So we ask the Lord through this Eucharist to give us the strength to accept his teaching and to follow him closely in our own day-to-day lives. Let us stand and offer our prayers and petitions.